We've now got some amount of code that will make sure that our collection of users gets dropped before every single test that we run. The problem here is that making any type of operation on our database is asynchronous in nature. It takes some amount of time to complete. Mocha, on the other hand, doesn't have any default idea of asynchronous operations. It just says, hey, I'm going to run all my tests as fast as I possibly can. And so the result is, before every single test that we run, we can call before each. This drop operation will occur, but we don't really have any guarantee that the drop will be completed before our test actually runs. So we need to make sure that Mocha understands that it needs to do a little bit of a pause before it runs the next test. To do so, we'll take advantage of a feature in Mocha called the done callback. So here's the idea. Inside our before each, we're starting off a long-running process. Now, just to be clear, dropping our collection of users isn't something that's going to be tremendously long. I mean, we're talking about milliseconds here, but it's relatively long. It's going to take some amount of time that we don't really know. After our long-running process is complete, we will call this done callback. Done is a callback that is provided to us automatically by Mocha. After we call this done callback, our test will continue running. So clearly the magic here is this done thing. Let's add in a little bit of code to make use of done, and I think it's going to be a little bit more clear about exactly what's going on. So I'm going to flip back over to my code. Now it's kind of like two pieces of magic that are about to happen here very quickly. The first piece of magic is understanding that drop accepts a callback function that will be executed once it is done dropping our collection of users. So I'm going to pass this thing a callback function. This function right here will only be executed once all the users are done with our collection. And so this makes a fantastic point in time at which we can say, ready to run the next test. Like inside this function, this is the point in time at which we are ready to execute our next test. So that's piece of magic number one. Piece of magic number two is that done callback. Every single function that we write inside of Mocha that we hand off to a before each or an it or a describe gets called with a done callback. So as an argument to the function that we're passing to before each, I'm going to add in done. So this done right here is a little piece of magic. It tells Mocha, hey, when I call this function right here, when I just call it, that means I'm all complete with all the logic that I have inside this before each. You can now run the next test. So if we add in a call to done right here, that means, okay, after our collection of users has been dropped, like however many milliseconds that takes, we call done, and that is a signal to Mocha. That means you can go ahead and run the next test now. So now I'll save this file, and I think we're about ready to give this a test at our command line by running our tests again. So I'm going to flip over to my terminal. I'm going to run npm run test. We're still getting a success here, but now if I flip over to my collection of users, I can see that I've got just a single record inside of here. All my other records got automatically deleted. Now, just to be 100% clear, you might be thinking, well, Stephen, why is there even this one user in here? Well, the one user is in here because we only clear out our list of users before each test. So we clear out our list of users, then we run our test that attempts to insert or save a new user, and then that's it. Test suite complete, everything is done. So we only clear out our list of users before each test. So the real test here, to make sure that everything is really working correctly, is if we run our test suite again. So I'm going to run my test suite again. Here we go. It's going to run successfully. And now if I flip over to RoboMongo again and I refresh my collection, again, I've only got a single record in here, but I've got a new ID on this record. So again, we only clear out the test suite before each test. And that just means that after our test suite is complete, we might have like an errant record or two in here. Okay, so we're making strides on the test side of our setup here. However, our test itself still isn't making any type of assertion inside of here. Remember, that's what we use that assert function for. So clearly we need to add a little bit of code inside of this it statement to make sure that we actually create an assertion here to make sure that our record is actually saved. So let's get started on that process in the next section.